is insane.
So, what up YouTube, BonzEye here, back with another video. So this is going to be another bonus video for Alan's journey into Warhammer 40K. Basically, what happened was in the last video about the Eldar, I went a little further on into explaining Slaanesh and the Eldar gods to Alan, and I felt that I was going a little too far with my explanations outside of the scope of the video, so I decided to release that little conversation part of our discussion as a separate bonus video. And also I went over the Harlequins in a bit more detail with him, and even though that was on point, I still felt that it made the video drag out a bit, so that's why I cut it out and I'm having it put in here as a bonus video in case any of you are interested in seeing his reaction to that extra bit on the Harlequins. So yeah, feel free to comment down below if I got anything wrong. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get right into the video.
To birth a chaos god, Slaanesh. That is insane.
So that was going back to what I was talking about earlier about, like, you know, humans do, like, you know, impact the world and affect the chaos gods, but like if we're talking about who has a bigger impact on the world, it would definitely be the Eldar. Because they straight up, I mean, these days their population is so strong that humans are definitely the main food crop for the chaos gods, because in terms of population and the fact that humans have a decent psychic presence in the warp. But yeah, like back in their heyday, the Eldar were pretty much the ones affecting the warp majorly. Anything
like
else?
empires. The empire before the Imperium of Man, it was the Eldar, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. They were the top dogs. And
that's interesting.
So,
and then in their depravity, they create. So like, wow.
You can cycle back what they're doing to the Slaanesh and think about how the humans worship the Emperor a lot.
Yeah.
And how them worshipping him a lot actually does empower him.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, and like increases his presence in the warp and makes him like in the warp, the Emperor does sort of exist, or at least a manifestation of him, and that manifestation of him is genuinely considered a threat to the other Chaos Gods. They consider it a genuine threat. Yeah. So like the Chaos Gods. That's another thing that I guess maybe I can clarify to you now. So you recall they mentioned Kegorok, who's an Eldar god. So the Eldar too have their own gods, and basically the warp isn't necessarily owned by the Chaos Gods. They just happen to be the most prominent beings in it. Like at least right now, But back in the heyday of the Eldar, it was their gods who were the more powerful entities in the warp, and their gods actually kept the original versions of the Chaos Gods at bay.
Okay.
And it was only when the Eldar effed up that their gods too got destroyed by Slaanesh, and then that's when the Chaos Gods, the other three, could like rise up along with Slaanesh and establish their dominance.
So they were the other three were original Chaos Gods, like
they
Khorne
were
and Khorne, is it?
Yeah, Khorne, Nurgle, and
Khorne,
Tzeentch.
Nurgle, and
they've been around.
Tzeentch.
I mean, in a way, because of the way like time doesn't exist in the warp, so it's incorrect to say that Slaanesh didn't exist until the Eldar created them, because time doesn't exist as a concept in the warp. So as far as the warp is concerned, Slaanesh always existed. But from our perspective in the material universe, we can say that Slaanesh started at that point in time, but time doesn't exist in the warp. So yeah, it gets really complicated. There's so many. I watched this other guys. There's another guy called Leutin who does an interesting video on the time in the warp, and I like his explanation of how things like, you can't, when you're trying to logic the warp, there's no point, it's pointless. The warp logic does not exist. So saying things like, you know, Slaanesh existed then or whatever, but it is technically true from our perspective to say that the Eldar created Slaanesh at this specific point in time. But then as far as the chaos, like, I'm pretty sure there was some pleasure god that existed in the chaos realms long before Slaanesh came into existence, but the Eldar merely made that minor aspect become major. And also there are other gods that are chaotic in nature that exist that aren't the chaos gods. There are other gods too that aren't necessarily the Eldar gods or the chaos gods, maybe for some other minor races that are in the universe. But yeah, it's way more complicated, and he's simplifying it here, more or less. Oh yeah, what was I going to? What did you think about the clown guys? I keep forgetting the names myself.
Yeah, I like the design.
I mean, not much can be said about them.
I like, yeah, there wasn't much that they in the video,
So
right?
their thing is they were like let's say back in the heyday when they were the worshippers of the gods, there was this particular small cult group that worshipped Kagorok specifically.
Okay.
And then when the shit went down and Slaanesh was born, he protected his followers. Like the clown god's pretty smart, intelligent, and he kind of, I guess maybe he sensed in advance. I don't know what the story is exactly, but he knew that Slaanesh was coming, so he did something to protect his people. And so he protects them in something called the Black Library, which is also in the warp. So the depraved Drukhari, they also live in the warp, but the clown guys live in the Black Library, which is also in the warp, but it's in a segregated part of the warp, away from access from anybody, and only the clowns can get to it. And he protects them there, and then they come out and do their shit, and then they escape back to the Black Library. So they operate out of that place, and then they're protected there, and they're trying to do they have their own plans to try to restore the civilization, separate from the craft world. But it's just that they're allowed to be indulgent in their sadistic whatevers, because for them, when they do that, it doesn't feed Slaanesh, it goes to Kagorok instead, and it protects them.
Ah.
Yeah. But that's an oversimplification, and I don't know enough, so if I'm wrong, maybe the comments will correct me. Yeah, I guess. Alright, we'll end it here, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.